ladies and gentlemen? It's Captain Trucker. If this is your first time, please subscribe. So I just want to talk a little bit in this video about maybe reasons why different types of expats come to the Philippines. And many years ago, before I came to the Philippines, I slept in a car for a long time to start saving money. I didn't always live in my car. I just did for like 1 year, maybe a year and a half or something like that. But anyway, my point of that is middle-aged expats or guys in their 50s and 60s, like they've been through different things in life and usually some ups and downs. A lot of them have been divorced, maybe already have grown children and stuff like that, and they're sort of in their retirement years. And it's just important that older men are cautious about the situations they get into here in the Philippines, especially being like a foreigner, especially if they have like handicaps or limitations, or they're not all there mentally and stuff like that. Because being like a foreigner in these cultures, especially if you don't have many other friends and you get into like a bad situation, it can be a nightmare for some of those guys. So be careful, really. And always remember that there's people you can go to, there's people you can talk to. There's even people on like YouTube like me or maybe some other people. So never think that you're alone, and never think that you don't have anybody to talk to, no matter what age you are. And also I want to talk a little bit about stuff that some people, maybe reasons why some people don't like the Philippines, some Westerners or people that have lived in like industrial countries for most of their life. The Philippines is much slower pace, fellows, ladies and gentlemen. And if you're used to being in like a big urban city and you have a certain type of job where you're functioning on a certain 8 to 5 level, I don't know, like say you're a project manager or a high-ranking salesman or an accountant. I mean, a lot of fellows have had like real careers in their backgrounds before they retire or come to the Philippines. And when you're around other people of like minds, there's a certain like frequency of functioning, if you will. And some people are sort of not equipped to deal with like maybe the energy, maybe especially like in the provinces in the Philippines, because it's not really like hardcore work in that level of functioning. I mean, it's a very simple culture and a simple life. So for some people, I mean, some men, they can't adjust to that maybe, and they don't like it, or they don't want to come here because maybe they think the Philippines is not good for them or something. And they can fall into bad habits like drinking alcohol and stuff like that. The alcohol thing is really not good here. So if you have a tendency to be like a drinker, and you have a tendency to get like complacent, you can run into trouble here. Because there's plenty of alcohol to be had, and for sure people like to drink, so you got to be careful of that. And try to like exercise too. I keep saying that. It's important. I mean, like I went through a period, I told people like during COVID, where I kind of like shut down all communication, sort of like off the grid, the communication grid, if you will, for like 5-6 months. And that was interesting. I didn't talk to like anybody I knew back in America, any friends or family. I was kind of fed up with things. I was fed up with some people's attitudes and the way they felt about COVID-19, and stuff like that. More so, I mean, people legitimately had reasons to complain, and the whole world was in a funk at those times. But some Americans were just complaining they couldn't go to their favorite restaurant, or they couldn't go to the club, or something like this. And like a lot of people were able to be home and be with their families at least, collect unemployment, work from home remotely, stuff like that. I mean, some people like that worked in other countries and maybe their family was in another country. They couldn't even be with their people or be with their own family. So um, it was that whole thing was a tough time. But yeah, I just kind of shut down, and it was like a period of isolation. But I forgot why I brought that up. My point of bringing that up was like that kind of stuff can happen to other expats too, other foreigners that live in these countries. And sometimes like expats don't even necessarily get along with other foreigners, because there is sort of a thing of travelers where some of us want to sort of get away from your home culture or whatever, your own people, so you go to a foreign land to sort of experience that. And I mean, look, there's good expats here. I mean, I'm not going to lie. There's some people here that are probably not the best citizens that were attracted to these countries, like I was saying in other videos, because unfortunately, for some people, sometimes these kind of countries can be like a last-ditch resort for somebody to live, just maybe because they don't have enough money or something like that. So I've never denied the fact that you can save money living like in Asia. It's just like, living in Southeast Asia. That's why I've always emphasized just don't do it simply to save money, because I've seen this happen to many retirees, because they end up complaining because it's not the same pace, it's not the same value for the dollar, if you will, and it's a much slower culture. I mean, certain like goods, especially food, for sure you can save money, no doubt. But the quality of materials generally isn't quite the same. I mean, the more Western you live, the more expensive it's going to be. And I've said that in videos, like even in my community section. I mean, you can make it out here on a range of different budgets. I'd say from $600 to $2,600 per month. You can live a variety of sort of lifestyles in between that, right? So, but we got to hope that by the time men are in their 60s, I mean, if you can't come up with a couple thousand a month, that's kind of concerning. That's a bit concerning, I got to say. Because, I mean, Social Security isn't that much these days, as far as I understand. Or maybe it is, I don't know. Usually men will have like a 401k or some kind of pension, hopefully some money saved. Try to build a nice little house out here, but I'm kind of going off on different subjects in this video. But just be careful about dating sites, like I was saying before. Use them as a point of contact if you can. I'm not going to sit here and tell people not to use them, because the fact is, I think like 90 or a huge percentage of men obviously meet women on these sites before they come out here. So hello. It's just something that you got to remember, to use them as a point of contact, and just be careful who you make promises to. Be careful, obviously, sending money to people. And there's nothing wrong with just trying to meet people as a point of contact when you get here. Just be careful about getting too close with people online. I mean, there is those horror stories about foreigners talking to certain Filipinos for 6 months to a year, and on their way out here, suddenly they're faking car accidents and faking hospital admissions and stuff like that, and that's not good. So don't be naive, be smart, We just got to be practical. The Philippines can offer a great second chance for a lot of men, even a third chance at life, for men that have been through ups and downs, like men that have been through divorces. And, it's hard to, the dating scene in the West, man, like in America, is like, I don't get it, man, honestly. Like, I think some people just, there might be something so materialistic and so, uh, mostly materialistic and material status, if you will, to why men, I don't know, a lot of people just hate on meeting people overseas. It's such a negative stigma of projection, in my opinion. You know, a lot of times, like, oh, don't go to the Philippines, they're gonna do this to you, and those women are just a bunch of gold diggers, and blah, blah, blah. The men that go there are losers, those expats, and that's just such a nasty stereotype, and a lot of times, actually, that's not true. A lot of expats are already accomplished in their careers, and they've already lived life, you know? And there's plenty of good Filipinos out here as well. It's just obviously in the news sometimes we hear the negative stories, and unfortunately they also get repeated and perpetuated over and over again. So some of that's almost like victim blaming, I think, and from Americans in a way, like maybe due to some of the history of the Philippines, and they've kind of got the short end of the stick in some ways. And it's almost like, oh, you know, once you've known you've wronged a culture or you've wronged people, you almost have to blame them, right? Like the way a perpetrator does. um, because let's face it, I mean, there's a lot of gold diggers in the West, right? There's a lot of bad marriages in America. There's a lot of people in horrendous marriages. A lot of people get stuck in marriages because of finances. 50% of marriages in America end in divorce, dude. So, I mean, what does that tell you? I think a lot of the middle class, well, not a lot, but I mean, some of them have to get married for financial reasons, and then sometimes, and then that doesn't really work out in the end, obviously. You can't base these relationships on money. I mean, it's always we keep talking about in these channels is money and women, and it's just like, if you're going into this with that kind of attitude, it's just, you got to be careful because, I don't know. So anyway, take care of yourselves out here, ladies and gentlemen, and just be around good people, and always remember that you're not alone, and there's people you can talk to, and stay healthy and stay safe. It's Captain Trucker. That was sort of my random speeches of the night. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.